There is a moment in the life of Jesus Christ that stands out as deeply unusual. Among all the miracles recorded in the Gospel of Mark, there is one healing that does not follow the pattern people expect. Because most miracles of Jesus are immediate. The blind see instantly. The sick are healed instantly. The broken are restored instantly. But in one case, the healing happens in stages. Not once, but twice. And that raises a serious question that readers have reflected on for centuries. Why would Jesus heal someone and not complete it in one moment? This is the story of a blind man in a quiet village and a miracle that unfolds in 2 steps. But more importantly, this is a story about how understanding, healing, and transformation sometimes develop gradually in human life.
The passage begins simply. A blind man is brought to Jesus by others. He cannot see anything. He cannot describe the world visually. He depends completely on others to guide him. The people around him have heard about Jesus. They have seen his power. They believe one thing strongly. If Jesus touches this man, he will be healed. So they bring him forward. There is no long introduction, no detailed backstory, just a moment of need. And the expectation is simple. A touch from Jesus should be enough. But what happens next does not follow expectation.
Then, Jesus performs the act of healing. He touches the man's eyes. The exact physical description is not elaborated in the text, but the meaning is clear. A direct act of healing is performed. Then, Jesus asks a question. Do you see anything? This is significant, because Jesus already knows the condition of the man, but he invites the man to describe his experience. The man opens his eyes and responds with an unusual answer. I see people, but they look like trees walking. This is one of the most mysterious statements in the miracle narratives, because it shows partial restoration, not complete blindness anymore, but not clear vision either. Something has changed, but not fully resolved. He can perceive shapes. He can detect movement. He can recognize something like figures. But everything is unclear, distorted, unfocused, incomplete. And this creates tension in the story, because healing is expected to be final. But here, it is partial.
This moment is where interpretation becomes important. The text does not say Jesus failed. The text does not say the man lacked faith. It simply presents a process. First stage, partial sight. Second stage, full sight. This is the only miracle recorded in the Gospels that occurs in 2 stages. So readers naturally ask, what is the meaning of this? Some interpret it as a demonstration that divine work does not always unfold in a single moment. Others see it as a teaching moment about spiritual understanding, that clarity often develops gradually. But the text itself remains simple. The man is not yet fully healed, and the process continues. Then Jesus acts again. He places his hands on the man's eyes a second time. The text does not describe drama or struggle. It simply continues the action. And then something changes. The man's vision is restored completely. The passage emphasizes clarity. He now sees everything clearly. Not partially, not vaguely, not distorted, but fully. This marks the completion of the miracle. And Jesus sends him away with restored sight. The text doesn't explicitly give a reason. It simply reports what happened. But this uniqueness has led to deep reflection for centuries, because it breaks a pattern. Most miracles in the gospel narratives are immediate, so this one stands apart. And scholars and readers often observe that the structure of the miracle itself may communicate something beyond physical healing. It may reflect a broader principle seen throughout human experience, that understanding and transformation are not always instantaneous. Sometimes clarity begins partially, then becomes complete. The man first sees, but not clearly. Then he sees again, and fully. 2 stages, 1 outcome.
Even outside theological interpretation, the pattern resonates with human experience. People often go through gradual understanding. A situation becomes clearer over time. A decision becomes more obvious in stages. A struggle becomes resolved step by step. Very few things in life become fully clear instantly, and this miracle reflects that reality in a physical illustration. First touch, awareness. Second touch, completion. First moment, partial understanding. Second moment, clarity. One of the strongest takeaways from this passage is that process is not failure. The man is not ignored after the first touch. He is not abandoned in partial sight. The healing continues. This shows continuity. The work is not stopped halfway. It is carried through to completion. And the final result is restoration. When the second touch happens, the text is clear. His sight is restored and he sees everything clearly. This is the conclusion of the miracle. Not confusion, not incompleteness, but full restoration. And then he is sent away healed. And then something very interesting happens. Jesus gives him a simple instruction. Do not even enter the village. At first, this feels unusual. Why would Jesus heal someone completely and then tell him not to go back to where he came from? To understand this, we need to slow down and look deeper. Because in the world of Jesus' ministry, instructions are never random. They carry meaning. In many miracles, people immediately run back to their communities to tell everyone what happened. But here, Jesus interrupts that natural reaction. Why? Because this miracle is not just about physical healing. It is also about timing, purpose, and perception. If the man immediately returns to the village, something important could happen. The focus might shift from transformation to spectacle. People might not see the process. They would only see the result. And Jesus often avoided turning miracles into public performance. Another reason is perception. At this stage in Jesus' ministry, there is growing misunderstanding about who he is. Crowds often follow him for signs and wonders, not understanding his deeper message. If the healed man enters the village immediately, people may misinterpret the miracle. Rumors may spread incorrectly. The focus may become sensational instead of spiritual. So the instruction acts as a form of protection, not just for the man, but for the message. This miracle itself happens in stages. First touch, partial sight. Second touch, full sight. In the same way, understanding of Jesus' mission in the narrative of the Gospel of Mark is also gradual. The man is not just physically healed in stages, he is also being separated from confusion too quickly. Sometimes clarity needs space. Silence after transformation helps understanding settle. There is also a symbolic layer. The village represents the man's old life, the place where he was known as blind. Returning immediately could pull him back into identity labels. The blind man who was healed. But Jesus' instruction separates him from that immediate return. It is as if the moment of healing is also a moment of transition, not just restoration of sight, but separation from an old identity. This command also reflects something consistent in Jesus' actions throughout the Gospels. Not every miracle is meant to become instant public announcement. Some moments are meant to be absorbed quietly. Before testimony, there is transformation. Before telling others, there is understanding. This miracle remains unique among the accounts in the Gospel of Mark because it shows a process rather than a single moment. It begins with blindness, it moves to partial sight, and it ends with full clarity. And whether one reads it spiritually, symbolically, or historically, the structure itself communicates something profound. Transformation can be gradual. Clarity can develop in stages, and completion often comes after process. The man was not left in partial vision. He was brought to full sight, and that is where the story ends.